Okay. Susan, if you could actually tell us a little bit more about your career path and also your current work that you're in, that would be wonderful.
Hi, Susan Funke. I was a comm arts major at Madison in the radio, TV, film concentration. Uh, let's see, didn't have a total career path coming out of Madison. Okay, it was the 70s. It was a different time. But um, I would say it started, I was looking to be in sports, TV, as a female back in that time. However, the only jobs at that time for women, and I hate to say this, were being someone's assistant. And the males got more of the opportunities to do the really good, the solid technical skills. So I started looking differently. It took me a while to find myself, and that started happening when I went to work for Bain and Company in Boston, a major management consulting firm. And they had technology. This was the 80s, and they were way ahead. And I got into computers and laptop and training, computer graphics. And then they had a library with information. And I found out that I was really into information and computers. And this was before the commercial internet as we know it. And so I went to library school. It's in my bio, but this sets up the rest. That's how I got into it. I started with information and went to library school here in Boston at Simmons, and started to see the internet. It was starting to happen in the late 80s, and I worked for LexisNexis, and that's where my career kind of really took off. I was based in Chicago at that time, and I ended up went back for another master's degree at Indiana University because I saw information design. So I even became more solid in technology at that point. Indiana has wonderful facilities and benefited from that. And I ended up I started working for another consulting firm in market research. That's what I got into at Forrester, which was at that time gigging information. Long story short is I got into market research. I started understanding technology, having been with the information management, library skills, what have you. I started writing about search technologies and content management. And so that led me to IDC, another technology market research firm, and onward into my own business. And I've consulted Wells Fargo, Microsoft, who I'm currently with, and let's see who else, Cisco, and in market research. And that's what I've been doing. And I built my skills from that, and that's how it started. It's a different path. Never thought I would fall into it, but I look back on it now and I see the threads all the way back. So that's my story. Hope it wasn't too long, but that's that. That's how I came into it.
Thank you, Susan, for sharing. That's fascinating. I think it's really great for you to share that piece of your story, especially since I think a lot of times students, at least the students I meet with, oftentimes would think that CS, I have to major in computer science in order to go into technology, and that's not necessarily always the case. So thank you for sharing that. Oh, I think you're on mute, Susan.
Oh, sorry. We fall into it. We never think we were going to be in it. You just fall. A lot of people in market research, they came from other backgrounds, a lot of them letters and science too, from other schools, including Wisconsin, and you fall into it. So you never know.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay. The next question I have for you is, I know you mentioned how you majored in communication arts. That's really exciting because, again, not like a typical computer science major. I'm curious to hear more about how did you use your degree and major to break into the technology industry?
Looking back on it, I think I have to look back on it. I don't think at that time no one knew what was coming, as far as the computer part of it when I was in school. I would say we were using technology. We were using, TV production, radio production, how to present ourselves, how to think. I also particularly liked history of film and film theory, and there is a thread in that towards information, towards libraries, towards archives, what have you. I mean, vice versa. So I think that's part of it, as well as, just being exposed to the Comm Arts department at Madison at that time, and going forward too. But the school, everything about it, just gave me a scope to, think big. I'm also from New York originally, so I had kind of a different perspective coming into Madison at that time. I wasn't a native, but I wanted to broaden my scope. So that's what I would believe.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks, Susan. Okay. Well, students, definitely those were my questions. I also have additional questions for Susan as well, but in case if you do have additional questions throughout this whole panel, feel free to put it into the chat, and or as Mike indicated in the chat, feel free to raise your hand and we'll call on you. Great. I'll go ahead and ask you the third question, Susan, and then the students, as their questions come in, I'll definitely make sure to check in and ask those questions as well. Okay, so here is my third question. What advice do you have for students who want to go into the technology field but may not be majoring in a tech field, such as computer science, for example?
There are quite a number. Don't let the job descriptions stop you. I mean, unless you're going for engineering, that's pretty much, I've worked with that. Don't let that stop you. I mean, how do I put it? It demonstrating all the skills that you've picked up outside of it. These days, a lot of the job descriptions have skills that are picked up, I know, in academic, in college now. Python, all the various languages, databases, knowing Microsoft Office, having the tech skills. They want liberal arts people. You just have to, see beyond through job descriptions and talk to people and network. You find a job you like, you talk to people and find out, how it is to get in there. That is the way of getting a job, to be honest. I think a job that you will really feel suited for and like is, by talking. Just don't rely on applying. I think that's, I would think, the biggest piece of advice. Also saves time.
Awesome. Okay, here's my next question. What types of experiences or skills should students be gaining to make themselves competitive as they prepare themselves for the internship and job search for the tech industry?
Definitely, well, part of what I just said about the basics, the solid Microsoft Office, solid, the other, picking up R, learning statistics even, picking that up, that kind of work. Just, basic kind of things. A lot of it you can learn on the job. Networking, building your networking skills. Some people, I don't, I'm kind of on the line. I prefer not to, but it does help. There are networking groups to get involved. Just realizing who you know already.
Alex just definitely slipped in. Welcome, Alex. Thank you so much for joining us. He's one of our other panelists for today. Thanks for joining us. And just to quickly introduce myself, my name is Amy. I'm one of the career and internship specialists within SuccessWorks, who supports students who want to go into technology and data. Welcome. If you could,
fantastic. Thank you. And I apologize for being late. I'm actually in a hospital right now, so I'm coming out of a meeting, but I appreciate it. Looking forward to this.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you too for making time. Yeah, if you could, I did this with Susan as well. If you could actually just go ahead and kind of introduce yourself and also tell us a little bit more about your career path and your current role, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be happy to. And first off, I know I have the mask on. Are you guys able to hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect, fantastic. But anyways, thanks for the introduction. I graduated from Madison in 2016, got a degree in biology. And quite honestly, initially my path and focus was for medical school. And I was on that path for a very long time. The first time I applied, I didn't get in. So as all good applicants do, they try to find ways that they can kind of increase their experience and bolster up their application, right? So the first job that I took out of college was as a research coordinator. I worked as an orthopedic trauma research coordinator for UW Hospital. After some time working in that capacity, I had a buddy who was working at GE, General Electric Healthcare, and he was an engineer for the anesthesia and respiratory care machines. And he knew that I was otherwise looking for experiences across the healthcare industry. And he asked, well, you know what, do you want to try your hand at engineering? So I said, sure, why not? And I spent some time working as an engineer out in the Madison facility for GE's anesthesia machines. Um, and then from there, I love the engineering world, very technical, very advanced and interesting. But I knew that I wanted to get back out and have a more direct, no more than 1 or 2 degrees away connection with patients. And, one of the things that was available at the time was to join GE's commercial leadership program, which is a 2-year-long training and leadership program for recent college graduates to get into medical equipment sales. I did that for 2 years. I went across, I trained in different locations across the United States. And in my role today, I work as a territory sales leader in the interventional equipment. So that's where I am today, actually. So it's a fun life. It's a fun job. Yeah, no, happy to kind of continue to speak to however you guys are interested.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing, Alex. I also told Susan the same thing, but I definitely appreciate you sharing your part of the story, introducing yourself with your career path, because I think not enough students who, at least that I meet, know that they don't have to major in computer science to still work within the technology and data industry. So thank you for sharing that. And while we have you, we've been asking Susan lots of questions, and so definitely want to hear your perspective on this too. In regards to the skills that you've kind of developed throughout your whole, college experience, and even now too, especially since you majored in biology and not the typical computer science, what were some of the, I think, main skills that has really helped supported you in this career?
Yeah. I mean, so honestly, my honest answer is that it's not a technical skill per se that got me to where I am, but it really was, and it's going to sound so cliche, but that network of folks to get you into a place. Look, you guys, to be honest, honestly, any degree you get in L&S, unless it's very, and you know what, I'm going to eat my words even then, because look, I got a bio degree and I went and worked as an engineer, right? I was going to say, even for very technical degrees, perhaps you may need that, certainly, but even then, if you can show aptitude and if you can show that you're willing to learn, take some time and get on top of a learning curve quickly, and you work well with people and people like to work with you, I think that's tremendous and not something to be glossed over while you're continuing to hone your own professionalism and your own skills once you get in and out of college.
Absolutely, definitely agree. Thank you. Yeah, and I will just again give a call out for students in case if you all have questions, definitely feel free to put them into the chat. Again, feel free to raise your hand. We'll definitely call on you. Awesome. But just to keep the ball rolling, I definitely have another question for you both. Feel free, whoever wants to take this question. For sort of like the role that you're currently in, or I would say the tech industry too, what do you both enjoy the most about working in this industry or the role that you're currently in?
I would say there, well, all right, technology, there's always something new. There's always something new to learn. And if you have that kind of, I like it because you're always learning what's coming down the road, what's ahead. Problem solving too, problem solving. Also a lot of smart people. That's another thing. And also, you're working with good people, smart, collaborative. working actually across the globe. I mean, that's another thing. I work, all different time zones, and it's good. It's just if that's what you're interested in and that's what you thrive on, that's what I thrive on. That I thrive on change. I thrive on learning, and looking for making the difference where the technology takes things. That's the other thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And to kind of echo that and build upon it, certainly for me, in being today in a sales focused role, one of the coolest things for me is just to see, certainly I get to see what's being built from the industry side of things, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that information has been widely dispersed to the general population yet. And that's where I feel like I can help and come in, is I can hear what folks' practices, what doctors and physicians are doing today, and I can take my technology and perhaps propose how that would fit in and help amplify and accentuate their practices tomorrow. And I think just the seeing adoption of technology and seeing it created and take it on and show proven outcomes, that is, I just think that's so cool and so much fun.